With Week 10 in the books and Thanksgiving just a week or so away, the cream usually starts to rise to the top. But with the Patriots losing rather convincingly in Tennessee to former understudy Mike Vrabel and the Steelers putting the smackdown on Carolina on Thursday night, as we approach the Week 15 matchup between the Steelers and the Patriots, the top five is taking a little bit of a different shape. So, partner, my question to you is this. How do we adjust the odds for Super Bowl favorites?
Yeah, New England was the favorite to win the Super Bowl going into the week. Almost 20% chance. They dropped below 15 here, the biggest drop we've seen so far this season, whereas the Steelers now at 10-1 on MyBookie provide value in terms of a pick to win the Super Bowl.
Normally we start at the bottom, so we'll go back to looking at the bottom feeders of our power rankings so far, brought to you, of course, by MyBookie. I'm George alongside Eric here. We'll start at 32 through 21. The Oakland Raiders, the New York Giants, the Buffalo Bills, the Arizona Cardinals. We expect them to be down near the bottom. But in terms of the race for the number one pick, who has the lead at this point?
Yeah, I mean, it has to be Oakland, right? Oakland's already lost to San Francisco, so if they were to be tied, they would win that tiebreaker. They face Arizona this week. They are underdogs in that game. They already had their game ahead of them already. So I think it's Oakland's to lose here, and lose they probably will continue to.
Is there any team, as I look at maybe 25 through 21, where you can say, look, they're not doing great so far, but the circumstances are such that maybe they could make a run at their division or a wild card?
I think it has to be Miami. Miami at 5-5. They're going in. They're going to have their bye. They're going to get a quarterback back who's healthy, who has played well at times. They have a pretty easy division playing teams like Buffalo, and they've already faced the Jets a few times. But they're I think numerically probably the team with the best shot here.
Yeah, I'm not going to disagree with you. I think numerically they are. I'm just going to go ahead and say all these teams should sort of write their season off and look ahead to the future and try to get the best draft pick they can. I know no one likes to hear that, and certainly players are going to try to win. But from a fan rooting perspective, that's kind of what my hope would be. And as a fan of one of those teams, that is what my hope will be. Okay, let's move into the middle section here. 20 through 11. A lot of teams that are now jockeying for an opportunity to get into the playoffs. A lot of really good quarterbacks in this group. So let's start with 20 through 15. Which of these teams do you think is moving up next week?
Yeah, I would say Washington. Washington gets to face Houston, who is a team that many highly regard. They get to face them at home. Even though they're underdogs, I think we would probably handicap them as being a little bit better than that. Alex Smith has sort of done just enough. That defense has created turnovers, even though they give up a lot of yards to Tampa Bay. So they're a team, I think, if they continue to win and win more convincingly than they did last week, I think that they vault up. Another option is Houston for sort of the same reason.
I'm looking at the top three teams in this group, all teams that lost last week, right? We've got Seattle, Atlanta, and Philadelphia, all teams with great quarterbacks looking to make that jump in there. So if I'm thinking about which one has got the best shot, I know which one I'm going to take. I'll let you go first here. Who are you going with?
Yeah, I mean, so let's throw Seattle out because Seattle cannot win their division numerically, so they only have really one path to the playoffs, and that's through a wild card, and that's going to be difficult for them. So, to sort of like contradict the Washington take, I think it is Philly because I think that they have the easiest path to winning a division, and that therefore they have two ways in which they can make the playoffs here.
Yeah, unfortunately, right, Atlanta's in that same boat, and so the answer is Philadelphia, which is surprising after how they looked against Dallas this past week, right, losing as about 8-point favorite, which is never something that you want to see. But look, I think they dealt with some really tough situations. All of their cornerbacks were hurt, and the Dallas defense really put the clamps down. I think Golden Tate gives them some options that they weren't able to fully explore this past week. Okay, before we get into the top 10, I want to remind you that no matter what you are watching, any sport, even if it's not football on a Sunday, MyBookie.ag has got you covered. They offer the opportunity to make even the most mundane exciting. You can place a bet on just about anything from the actual game to a player in the game to how that team will do overall this season. So if you want to take Duke minus 500 against every single team they play, you can do that. And
Tuesday action.
Anything you want, they have got you covered. They offer in-game live betting as well, which is something that both of us really like. So head to mybookie.ag and use promo code PFF to get a $1 for $1 match on your first deposit. It's pretty simple. PFF plus mybookie.ag. You play, you win, you get paid. All right, the top 10. again, sort of breaks into two groups, but I'm going to go ahead and say now that those two groups are 10 through 6 and 5 through 1 with the way that Pittsburgh has jumped up into that 4th spot. Obviously, New England, as you mentioned, takes a big tumble. So before we get to the top 5, which of 6 through 10 is making or most likely to make a jump going forward?
Yeah, I think in the public eye, it's really going to be whoever wins the Minnesota-Chicago game on Sunday night, the Sunday night football game there. But I think from my perspective, I'm going to talk about the Los Angeles Chargers here. They have a home game against Denver this week. Kind of don't know how the home in LA is going to work out, but they're 7.5 point favorites. We think that they're one of the best teams in the NFL, and they're just not getting the recognition for it because they had early season losses to the Rams and the Chiefs. So they're a team I think is probably as good as the top 5 teams. They're just not considered that, but I think the public will think it's the winner of Minnesota-Chicago.
I don't disagree with you. The Chargers is going to be hard for them to get a lot of love because of that West Coast situation, which is really unfair. Carolina is an interesting team to me, and here's why. They got absolutely destroyed on Thursday night in Pittsburgh, but some things happened in that game where it's a Thursday game, you're on the road. I really felt as though if that had been in Carolina, we could have seen the exact opposite thing happen in that game, and we could be talking about Carolina as the team vaulting into the top 5. So along with the Chargers, the Panthers are a team to look out for because of their strong quarterback play, their good coaching, their defense. It's improving a little bit, and you just don't want to be a train wreck, which is what they were on Thursday night.
Yeah, difficult thing with Carolina is their strength of schedule is really difficult coming up. They have an easy one probably against Detroit here, but their last 3 games are New Orleans, Atlanta, New Orleans. So that's going to be a tough one for them.
What doesn't kill you only makes you stronger, Eric. 5 through 1, the Patriots in the 5th spot, but they shouldn't necessarily be viewed as the 5th most likely team to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, our numbers like them better than they would a team like Pittsburgh just because of their path. Or their chance of getting a 1 seed or getting a 2 seed is pretty high, especially if they do beat Pittsburgh, which they have historically, even in Heinz Field. So we like them better than the 5th best team to win the Super Bowl. But that being said, there's always these clunkers that they have during midseason, and the question is always, is it like 2015 where this bad game is indicative of what might happen in the playoffs on the road? Or is this just something like last year against Miami where it's just kind of a blip on the radar and they're going to continue to roll in the AFC playoffs? So that's really what they have to answer here. Very difficult for them to move offensively without Gronk and with receivers that I think Brady is still learning to trust.
3 through 1, all very exciting. Kansas City and Los Angeles meet, of course, in Mexico City post-Shakira concert this coming Monday night. The Saints, of course, have done nothing but solidify their path at the top, and they are huge favorites against the Eagles. Looking into your crystal ball, after this week, who reigns supreme?
Yeah, I think it stays the same order, honestly. New Orleans is probably going to roll against the Eagles. The Eagles missing out on probably the 4 of their top 5 defensive backs going into this game. We like the Rams a little bit against Kansas City, even though I think that's probably going to be the best game of the season so far. So that could go either way. I do think, though, after this week, New Orleans will be the decided favorite to win the Super Bowl in the NFL.
Okay, I'm going to go with a different take. The team that wins on Monday night should be the favorite, and here's my thinking. The Rams in that Saints game, I believe luck was not on their side consistently throughout that game and really could have gone either way, even with all of those things happening to them. So I don't see there being a huge difference between the Saints and the Rams. Whoever wins this game should be the favorite to win the Super Bowl. And right now, we'll talk about this a little bit later in a different video, the Rams are a fairly decisive favorite considering how good both teams are. But if the Chiefs are able to win that game as an underdog, I have no reason why they shouldn't be the favorite.
Here's one piece of data for your point. New Orleans has the toughest schedule moving forward here. They play Atlanta once more. They play Carolina twice. So they don't have a cakewalk moving forward here, whereas the Rams and the Chiefs, both their most difficult game is this Monday night. And so whomever comes out of that game, as you said, will be primely positioned for a playoff and a Super Bowl run.
Along with the winner coming out of that game will be more history from Tess, Witt, and Boog. Monday Night Football. It is a show you absolutely cannot miss.
Appointment viewing. Really.
We'll, of course, be back with you next week with hopefully, a little bit of an update to those power rankings. In the meantime, check us out at ProFootballFocus.com and subscribe to the PFF Forecast.